Good evening. This is Jen, the Liberty Lion, and today I want to talk to you about the civil officers. I was geeking out on the Constitution, reading some interpretations of the Constitution, and one of the things I read was from one of the major websites that teach the Constitution. What it was saying was that there's no list of who the civil officers are in the Constitution. And right away I thought, well, that's sort of strange that they would say that because they are in the Constitution. It's just that they're not listed in a list that's easy for a simpleton to find. It's sort of just the various officers throughout the Constitution. So the civil officers are all of the officers in the Constitution. We have from OLRC, the Constitution that they have printed on page 4. This would be Article 2. Let's see, we're looking at Section 2, Clause 2, the presidential powers, power by the advice and consent of Senate to make treaties, so on and so forth. Appoint ambassadors, public ministers, consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, and all other officers of the United States, which would include the military officers known as military and naval or land and naval forces. Okay, whose appointments are not herein otherwise provided for, and which shall be established by law, but the Congress may by law vest the appointment of such inferior officers as they think proper in the President alone, in the courts of law, or in the heads of departments. Okay, so we're going to look at something that's really simple to find, which I'm surprised that so many cannot find it. Role of the officers. So this is 7th Congress, number 154, first session, Thomas Jefferson in 1802. Role of the officers, civil. Okay, those are the ambassadors, consuls, department heads. Now, some department heads are military officers, but in some of the instrumentalities, they're civil officers, so they're civilians. Military and naval of the United States, so of the federal states. So all of those federal officers, so all the federal officers that are appointed, including civil, military, and naval. And civil would be, like I showed you, the ambassadors, public ministers, consuls, judges of the Supreme Court, other officers of the United States, which would be the military officers. Appointments not herein provided for, established by law. And inferior officers, so could be non-commissioned officers, which would still be military. And they're inferior officers as they think proper in the president alone, in the courts, or the department heads. So department heads originally, I think, would have been the military departments. I've never seen a judge, minister, consul, or ambassador be the head of a department. So I have seen department heads as military officers. Now, I know some of the instrumentalities, which are such as the Federal Reserve Bank, may have a head of the department or department head, but in my experience, those have all been military officers. And I guess what they're saying is that they can appoint inferior officers. And those are the list of civil officers, according to Thomas Jefferson, that they are in the Constitution, and they're easy to find. They're just throughout the Constitution. Okay, so just my take on what a civil officer is, and that they are listed in the Constitution. They're there. You can find this number 154 paper, miscellaneous papers, on memory.loc.gov, and all I did was search, I think the word civil. Role of the officers, civil, military, and naval of the United States. So they have civil officers, they have military officers, naval officers, according to Thomas Jefferson. Role of the officers, they have civil, military, naval, and the United States, and that in the Constitution, the civil officers are the ones that I showed you here in Article 2, Section 2, Clause 2 of the Constitution. Okay, so civil officers of the United States, ambassadors, public ministers, consuls, judges, inferior officers appointed by the president, courts of law, and heads of departments, which are the higher officers. The higher military officers can appoint inferior officers, such as, for example, non-commissioned officers. Maybe you know of some sort of other inferior officer based on some place where you worked or something that you read. So you can put those in the comments, because I don't know all of it. I only know part of it, and I'm just trying to give you what I know. Okay, so with that, like, share, subscribe, click the bell notification, leave a comment, ask questions, and I'll see you in the next video.